All right, so now we're going to talk about oligopoly in the short run. Now you have already seen this several times. We're going back through it. There's 4 possible circumstances for the oligopoly firms. They could be profiting, they could be breaking even with 0 economic profit, they could be operating at a loss, or they could be in a situation where they have to shut down. You could probably pause this video right now, look at all these, and figure them out. Hopefully by now you can just eyeball the graph and get an idea of what you're looking at. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through them one at a time. This oligopoly firm is going to make a decision to produce a quantity where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, because that is the profit maximizing decision. So here's marginal revenue, marginal cost, there's where they intersect. So we're going to go vertically down here. That is going to be the profit maximizing quantity. We're going to take that up to the demand curve, and then we're going to come over here, and that is going to be the price, the profit maximizing price that this firm is going to charge. Then we're going to identify the average total cost. So if we go up the quantity, vertical quantity line here to where the average total cost is, there it is. If we come over here, that is our average total cost for the firm when they produce this quantity. We're going to also go to the average variable cost, which is right here. We're going to come over the dashed line. And again, so that's our average variable cost. So here's a situation where our price is higher than our average total cost, and our average total cost is obviously higher than our average variable cost. So this rectangle is going to be the variable cost. This larger rectangle here, that's the total cost of the firm, because we're going to multiply the height, the average total cost, times the width, the quantity. This rectangle represents the total cost of the company. And then if we multiply the price times the quantity, this largest rectangle represents the total revenue. Total revenue is larger than total cost, therefore we are profiting. This firm is profiting. This firm is profiting, experiencing economic profit. So that's good for them. All right, so we're going to put profit, profiting. Now, we're going to go over here to this one. We're going to follow the same procedure. This firm is going to produce where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, which is where they intersect right here. We're going to come vertically down here, and that is going to be the profit maximizing quantity. We're going to take that line up to the demand curve, and then that's going to happen right there and come over. Now notice something interesting that just happened right there. We hit right where the demand curve is and where the average total cost curve is. So this is, I need to erase this a little bit. We know that's the average variable cost. That's going to be the profit maximizing price for this one. But look, it's also the same height as the average total cost. So when we follow this up, that is also where average total cost is. So we have a situation here where average total cost is equal to the price. And where average total cost is equal to the price, we know that this is a break-even situation. So this firm is breaking even. 0 economic profit. Okay? If you wanted to go ahead and put in the average variable cost, that's right here. But you can see that the average total cost times quantity is equal. It's the same rectangle as the price times the quantity. Total cost is equal to total revenue, so this firm is breaking even. All right, let's come down here to this one. And this firm is also going to produce where the marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. And then we're going to go vertically down here. That is going to give us the profit maximizing quantity. And when we bring that line up to the demand curve and then over, that will give us the price, the profit maximizing price. And if we follow that line vertically again, but we got to take it all the way up to the average total cost curve, which is higher, we can see that average total cost, ATC, is higher than the price. So average total cost is greater than the price, and therefore this firm is operating at a loss for sure. But it all depends on their variable costs. If we follow the quantity line up to the average variable cost, we can see that price is still higher than average variable cost. So average total cost is greater than price. Price is greater than average variable cost. So total cost is a bigger rectangle than total revenue, but we are recovering some of our fixed costs. Remember, fixed costs is the region between average total cost and average variable cost. And this rectangle here shows we are recovering some of our fixed costs. Therefore, it's good for us to continue operating. And so this firm is going to operate at a loss. Operate at a loss. Okay? Now when we come over here, we're going to do the exact same thing. This firm is going to decide its profit maximizing quantity where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, which is right here. We're going to come down here. This is the quantity, the profit maximizing quantity is the best that this company can do for themselves. We go all the way up to the demand curve, and then we'll come over, and you can see that the price, the profit maximizing price is there. But we have a problem here because when we follow that line vertically up to, look at how high that is. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Average total cost is much higher than the price, and average variable cost is slightly higher than the price. Average variable cost. Nonetheless, average variable cost is greater than price, and of course average total cost is greater than average variable cost. So for this company to continue operating, they will lose more money. They're better off just paying out this fixed cost between average variable cost and average total cost. So this firm really should shut down, stop operations. So this oligopoly firm should shut down. They should stop. Oops, this should be N. Shut down. They should stop doing business, whether they're competing or cooperating. They should stop doing business because they are bleeding money. They are just losing money like crazy. Okay? And so I just wanted to remind you, oligopoly in the short run is determined the very same way that all the other firms are determined in the short run when they have a downward sloping demand curve. All right, before we finish up with oligopoly in the long run, we need to talk about something that is very important and kind of unique in a way to oligopoly. It's the question of new firms entering the market. Now, I'm not saying that new firms never enter the market, because Southwest Airlines entering the airline industry is a great story about a new entrant that has done great things, okay? But that is an exception to the rule. Generally speaking, there aren't a lot of new entrants into markets in oligopoly, especially not to the point where they take such a large market share like the way that Southwest has. So I want to kind of explain why the general rule is that new entrants don't generally succeed, and why a lot of companies just don't even bother trying to enter into oligopoly markets, at least not in the way where they just start from scratch. Okay. Now, I do want to note that a company can enter an industry by buying an existing firm. You know, if Walmart decides that they're going to buy United Airlines, then Walmart just got into the airline industry. But they didn't start from scratch. They bought United Airlines. They bought an existing oligopoly firm. That's not the same thing. What we're talking about here is a firm entering an oligopoly market from the ground up, brand new, okay? And what I'm going to show you here very simply is why new firms don't enter the market. So let's say that this is the cost structure and the demand curve and everything for what would be the demand curve for an oligopoly firm. And let's say that they choose their profit maximizing quantity where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, okay? So this is the profit maximizing quantity. And then they decide that they're going to charge a price that's right here, and let's say that's reasonable. It's the profit maximizing price. That's reasonable in this oligopoly firm, okay? They're doing okay because if you see where their average total cost is, that's right here. So they're doing okay. They would profit, average total cost. And of course, their average variable cost is down here where the profit maximizing quantity intersects the average variable cost curve. So we would call this firm profiting. So now this firm enters, they're doing pretty good, they're a profiting firm. But here's the problem. There's one thing that we haven't discussed yet, and this is getting into an intermediate concept, but I want to at least introduce it to you here in oligopoly. Read this question. What if the company, your company, what if you can't get enough customers to sell the profit maximizing quantity? Now you know that this is your profit maximizing quantity, and you're all ready to produce and sell that profit maximizing quantity. You're all ready to make a profit. But what if not enough customers want to buy from you? You're ready to produce it, you've got the quantity supplied, but what if they're not ready to be the quantity demanded? Okay? Here's the problem, is the brand loyalty of the incumbent firms. The firms that are already there in the industry, they have a lot of brand loyalty. And unless the other firms are losing customers or making big mistakes, unless the industry is having a huge change, you can't grab all the customers. Those customers are loyal to the brands of the firms that are already in the industry. And therefore, if you can't get enough quantity to be able to produce that quantity and earn this profit in here, what if the quantity that you wind up producing is actually all the way over here? What if this is the quantity demanded for your product? Well, here's what that means. What that means is that your average variable cost is going to be much higher, that your price will probably have to be a little higher because you have to cover. And then look at this average variable cost. Your average variable cost is going to be way up here. And you are now in a position where your average variable cost is higher than your price, which is, of course, higher than your average, this is your average total cost. Your average total cost is higher than your price, higher than your average variable cost, okay? Really what I'm trying to say here is this, is one of the reasons why a lot of firms don't enter is because of inhibiting costs. They usually can't, here's what we're going to say, that's one thing, inhibiting costs, okay? New firms can't get enough market share to start. They can't even get started because they can't get enough market share to start. And many of these oligopoly industries, many of them have, I'm going to write here in purple, many oligopoly industries have require a minimum market share in order to be successful. Meaning you can't be successful in the industry. You can't cover all of your fixed costs and the variable costs necessary unless you meet a minimum market share. If you could get up to your profit maximizing quantity, then that would give you your market share. But there aren't enough customers that want to buy that quantity because they are brand loyal to the incumbent firms. All right, so now we're going to wrap up by talking about oligopoly in the long run. Well, we just finished talking about why firms don't really enter the market in oligopoly. Now we're going to mention why firms don't exit the market. Before we talk about that, I do want to mention, though, that oligopoly is very similar to monopoly in that oligopoly really doesn't have a long run. Remember that in order to be in the long run, you have to have no fixed costs, and therefore it has to be possible for firms to freely enter the market and for firms to freely exit the market. Remember, I'm going to say that again. In the long run, firms have no fixed costs, and so they are free to enter the market and exit the market. Well, we just got done saying that fixed costs are the very reason that firms don't enter the market. And I'm about to show you why firms don't really leave the market, and it's because of fixed costs. Because there are such high barriers to entry in oligopoly, it prevents firms from getting into the long run. They are always carrying very high fixed costs. Therefore, there is no long run for oligopoly. So then what happened, what's the deal with exiting the market? What's this guy going to do, right? Here's the shutdown, right? And this guy over here, he's operating at a loss. When this guy gets into the long run, wouldn't he normally exit the market? And wouldn't this guy exit the market as quickly as possible? As soon as his fixed costs get resolved, he should exit the market. Well, in oligopoly, there are so many fixed costs that there really is no exiting the market. Instead of exiting the market, what we have is merger and acquisition. That's what happens, okay? So we're going to write here, no market exit. Instead, merger / acquisition. So here's what's going to happen. We mentioned before that these companies, they really don't go out of business. What they do is they just merge with one another. So what's going to happen is what is likely to happen is this firm up here that's profiting and doing so well, they are going to buy or merge with this firm or this firm, and it could put them in a better cost structure to where they're either profiting the same, but they're a larger company, or they may even be profiting more. Also, there could be the situation where the oligopoly firm that's breaking even, they're earning zero economic profit, could be one of the reasons is that they're not quite at the right size to be profiting. If they had more resources, then maybe they would be large enough to get enough customers that they would be profiting. And so we can put this guy together with this guy down here. These two merge, and then they become a firm that either is earning zero economic profit or profiting. See, these two firms, they can stay. They can keep this up for a long time, okay? It's these two firms that can't keep it up, and therefore, these two firms, instead of exiting the market, they will just simply join forces with another company and then become viable. They will stop losing money. Well, hopefully they will stop losing money. There's also the probably very rare circumstance that two of these companies, or this one and this one, might get together. And remember what we said, one of the reasons firms don't enter the market is because they can't get enough quantity. They can't get enough of the market share. They can't get up to their profit maximizing quantity. But if you put two or three of these together, then they may be able to work out. But that's a very, very rare situation. It'd be very difficult for a firm in this situation to be able to get enough money to be able to buy this company over here. More than likely, you're going to get this company or this company buying these companies and then becoming larger. Okay. Now, that's not to say that two of these can't merge together. That's fine. Or one of these and one of these, or two of these could merge together. That's fine too. But the main thing I want you to understand is that generally speaking, in oligopoly, firms do not simply just shut down and leave the market. Instead, they sell all their assets to another company, and then the name of the company just stops being. And then, Exxon is no longer Exxon, Mobil is no longer Mobil, they're now Exxon Mobil. SunTrust Bank, no more SunTrust Bank, no more BB&T. They come together and they're now Truist Bank. Okay, now they're a new thing that has come together. Okay. Well, that's it for oligopoly. I hope this all makes sense. I really, really encourage you to, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, this market structure stuff, then I highly encourage you to take an intermediate economics class, or even to move on into your, if you get an MBA or a degree in finance, or maybe even a master's degree in economics, that you can really dig into the deeper and more advanced stuff regarding market structures and oligopoly.